Alright. I'm gonna use live weather. Anyway, so welcome to another flight series video. I'm gonna do something a little funny. I'm gonna cover the Washington DC area, and a few reasons. Is one, obviously from a landmark perspective, I'm curious to see what's been recreated, what hasn't, how does it look. But the other one, and this is where I've been kind of doing these videos and why I enjoy doing these videos, even it might be just a few people watching. I like talking about these different actually, this is where I need to set my departure. Different kind of like airports and systems, and the DC Metro has a pretty unique system, and I kind of want to go into a little bit of the history as well. Actually, let's zoom in. We'll park from the main one. There we go. All right, so before we go in, there's real quick. So I'm going to do from Ronald Reagan, DC. Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport to Baltimore-Washington International Airport. I'm not going to fly out of Dulles, but I'm going to explain these three different airports. And you see here, and this is an Air Force base, but the three commercial airports I'll be focusing on. And how you see like almost all their airspace kind of like intertwines with each other, and that's on purpose for a reason. But anyway, let's go right into it. So we're going to fly to Reagan, and I said to pick Reagan over Dulles for one cool reason. It's right outside the Capitol Mall. Actually, two reasons. And the other one, which I won't follow because this is a game. But when you go into Reagan nowadays, you actually hover around the Potomac going into the airport. Because after 9/11, they really restricted a lot of the airspace over central DC. Now, obviously, with that airport there, that kind of made it fully impossible just to like not to have any, no airspace whatsoever. And, so there's still a very crucial airport to the city and region. They really started limiting the airspace and put them like really direct paths where it kind of hovers the river, just in case something, like unfortunately, like say another attack happened like 9/11. The goal would be hopefully that if it went off track, then they know something was seriously wrong. Over, let's say, a wide open airspace where they really don't know what's wrong until it's too late. Obviously for a lot of very, obvious reasons from our U.S., from the United States government, obviously a lot of landmarks, the Pentagon. I mean, you can go on and on, but but it's very unique as I've flown into Reagan, and you kind of find it's not like it's topsy-turvy or like you're going left and right, like you feel it. When you kind of watch it, you kind of do see, you're on this kind of weird path, it's not like a straight path or do one curve and then go in. It's just kind of like a little like a light zigzag, hovering this river until like the last approach, which straightens out into the airport, which is just right off the river too. So, and you'll see that when we take off. We're going to start at the gate, just to take off and explain a little more about the airport. But that was the first I did want to cover. It's probably one of the most unique approaches I've seen, probably anywhere in the U.S. for sure. Obviously worldwide, I'm sure we can go into the weeds, but definitely in the U.S., especially for commercial airlines, because this is pretty busy airport. Not the busiest by any means, but a very busy airport. Obviously, a lot of people who go to DC will fly one of these three airports that we're going to start going into. But real quick, yeah. See, it's just right off the river. There's your bridge, DC. I mean, that's Arlington. So, I mean, you're just right in the heart of everything. Sorry, I forgot to turn that off before that video. That's basically the motherboard scanning. All right. But yeah, so this is Ronald Reagan. I can tell this has not been recreated, like handcrafted. If you go to Ronald Reagan, it actually kind of it's an old airport, but it's got a really beautiful atrium for the main gates, like right through here. And obviously here it's more of a generic, building-ish. I mean, if you look from the up when we go above, the layout would be accurate, but obviously the building's representation will not. So, let's get this. We'll just do straight out.
Washington Ground Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra with uniform request taxi for Jacob departing straight out.
Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra taxi to and hold short of runway.
They've changed the voices. I don't remember them sounding like this. That's kind of neat.
Contact tower on 119.11 ready.
All right. Perfect. All right, let's get going.
Taxi to and hold short runway 15 via taxiway Charlie Bravo Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra.
So, all right. So, um, well, let's go into a little history of this airport. So, and this is actually the main reason I want to do this video is talk about this airport system. That we're kind of moving and crashing into vehicles. So, there's 3 airports in D.C. They're all commercial airports. I think they're actually technically all international because I think there's a couple flights to Canada, like, Air Canada from Ronald Reagan, so officially makes it an international airport. But it's primarily a domestic airport. Ronald Reagan's the oldest airport of the bunch. It was built in the early 40s, or let's say it was operational by like early 40s, around World War One. I don't know on top of my head if it was like an Air Force base originally or not, but I just know like it was like at least the first commercial airport in the D.C. area. And obviously when it opened in World War II, it was it handled its needs at the time, but by the 50s, with the dawn of really the golden age of commercial aviation, the jets, it was too small. You can see, I mean, it's got a decent runway, but it's not a big airport by any means. I don't think the runway is long enough to handle a 747 nowadays. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure like very good pilots could pull it off, but it's not like there's a lot of room for error. And obviously when it comes to commercial aviation, the goal is to make it as smooth and easy as possible for the pilots and the passengers. So with that came Washington. Well, actually, not Washington Dulles. Baltimore Airport opened in 1950. Now, it was a different name, and I don't think it was originally used to be like a secondary airport to the DC area, just kind of like for Baltimore and have like its own airport basically. But really in DC though, because of the jet age and how this airport was, there was no room to expand. Commercial kept growing and growing and growing. Things had to change. So, and basically that's when they decided to build Washington Dulles, which opened up into the around 1962. When I looked to see, I did a little homework and opened in 62. Hold on, I just want to park that. Let's get clearance. Perfect.
Washington Tower Beechcraft Alpha Sierra
So,
X-ray
I just like
Sierra
doing this. It's just kind of fun to be a little accurate when it comes to the communication with ATC.
Beechcraft Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, cleared for
Perfect.
takeoff runway 15 straight out, departure approved.
Alright, let's go.
Cleared for takeoff runway 15 Beechcraft X-ray Golf Sierra.
So, but anyway, so, speaking of that, Frontier Airlines about to fly into this airport. Where are they?
Frontier Flight 53, 6 Heavy Washington Tower. Cleared on at runway 15 approach. Altimeter 29.906 Windcom.
Alright. And we're going to go south a little bit and then circle around, and then go over like DC proper. On our way to Baltimore. It's only going to be about a 10-minute flight. I mean, that's how close everything is. But anyway, so back to Dulles. So they opened that up 1962, which I didn't see. That just ended up being probably some of the best timing ever because about 7 years later, it was the first flight of the Boeing 747. Let's get a little more altitude. And we're going to cheat and kind of keep this a low flight. Try and keep around no more than 2,000 feet roughly. But yeah, real quick, we're going to do a quick pause right here. Ooh, hold on. Sorry. I was doing that altimeter. I had to stop that. Okay, that's good. This is Reagan. This is it. So obviously, 2 nice low runways, but that's the terminal. Not very big. You can tell, maybe you can fit a 747 or like a 787 there. Not many, there's no space to expand unless you really want to build, just like let's say do what you saw like in Japan or parts of Asia where they just build basically man-made line into the Potomac. But again, this is the Potomac. This is not an ocean or a big bay either, so obviously that was probably also challenging to even think about that. So then that's why it came to Dulles, which is right over here. I can just tell. See, that's KID. That is Washington Dulles Airport, and that's your main international airport. And we'll kind of go into some of the airlines and different routes. So from Ronald Reagan, it's mostly a domestic airport. Obviously, there is like Air Canada. So, there is some at least like, there's some decent flights. And it's an American Airlines hub. So you can actually fly to Los Angeles out of Ronald Reagan. So it does have a few long-haul flights, domestic long-haul flights. Obviously, that'd be the longest one, about 5-ish hours. They also fly to Phoenix, which that's probably a good 4.5-hour flight. Because it can handle it can handle, probably a good 757, and the 737s can go a good 6 hours now. So it can handle longish flights. It's just the size of the plane's the issue. Because when you go into want to go to Europe, you really need you need like a 787 or a 747. So and that's why they end up building Washington Dulles. So well, we might go over it. I'm kind of just debating on that, to be honest, just because there's really not much west of Ronald Reagan minus Arlington, and which is like right there. Like this is it. This is Arlington. And you can see Dulles is actually a little far out of the way. And the downside with Dulles is no metro station yet. I think that's about to open soon. So for years, so lately since 62 onward, when it opened, they never had the subway go out there, like the public transportation. So basically it was like they just had nothing going on. And it's also kind of neat, you just get a sense of, you see Southwest and so forth. But anyway, so with Reagan, though, I mean, all the major airlines will fly into it, usually from their other hubs, minus American, which does have a small hub. A few cross-country flights, but if you go to the list, it's more very regional. It's mostly American Eagle to you get some decent distance like St. Louis or Kansas City. But let's say San Francisco, no. Seattle, I don't think it was on the list. So that's where you go out of Dulles, which is the United Airlines hub. Not the biggest United Airlines hub. I think it's like in the middle-ish or lower end, because Chicago and Houston would be the bigger ones, San Francisco, and then just about, probably only like an hour's flight north is Newark, which is their main East Coast hub now. But they still have kept Dulles as like a kind of like a crucial point, because there is a lot of international traffic, obviously, for the capital, and it's still a very, busy airport. But if you look at their route list, it's, let's say, not as extensive like it is up in Newark, especially for overseas flights like to Europe. You get London and Paris, but if you want to go to, like, say, Venice or Italy, or let's say Rome, I should say, because both are in Italy, most likely going to be out of Newark. Something like, let's say, a seasonal like Athens, Newark, and not Dulles, for example. So, and then also back to Reagan, the biggest benefit of them, though, despite being smaller, a little more limited, it's right from the Capitol Mall. It has the subway station right there. And for a lot of people who obviously go to D.C., if you live there, it's probably, if you live out here, like in these suburbs, it's a whole different story. But if you're there to visit, it makes perfect sense to be over there, because you have, you got the subway. You're going to likely stay nearby in the D.C., around, central D.C., or maybe Fairfax, Virginia, or Arlington, like in this area, somewhat close. And maybe, at worst, maybe like the first Maryland suburbs of D.C. So obviously, I honestly recommend you fly in always here, unless you're going like a cheaper flights out of Baltimore, which we'll go over in a second. But anyway, so we're still kind of fun. This just to give you a sense, like most of we think of D.C. is like central. Like over here is like Arlington and Fairfax area, which we'll go over here in a second. So it's it's a very widespread area now. It's grown so much. It's like 5-6 million people in the region now. All right. Well, I think I'm not gonna find a Dulles. Well, here I'll zoom in here. Just you can already tell it's a bigger airport. I mean, if this was a handcrafted Dulles, I would fly over that, because it is kind of a cool looking building. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like that 60s, 70s architecture where it's kind of like an arc, it's like an upside down arch, with the roof, so it kind of curves upward, and it's like a big open window. And I kind of like those designs. I think it's kind of neat for that time period, especially how you get a lot of natural light in and stuff. So I mean, honestly, but since it's not, it's just going to be a generic building. But I did just want to show you on the radar in the corner that earlier, it's a big airport. It's got several runways. You get your airlines ANA to Japan, they will fly into that over any other airport in the region. And finally, the last one we'll cover, which we'll talk about again probably towards the end when I land, real quick, will be Baltimore Airport. And Baltimore, it's only like 60-ish miles, if that. really from DC? You know, I don't remember exactly, but it's only like an hour. Yeah, depending on traffic. Yeah, that's where it gets very iffy. Because then that could get like confusing. Because it's like, oh, it's only 15 miles, but it'd be 2 hours with traffic. Because you know everyone's on this little like interstate corridor in the region. But that's kind of like the almost like the low cost carrier airport. So when you fly out like Baltimore, it's a Southwest hub. Now Southwest does have flights to Reagan. You know, and some would be like to St. Louis or Austin, but like from Los Angeles, that'd be out of Baltimore or across country. Let's say really anything longer than 2.5, 3-ish hours would be out of Baltimore over Reagan with Southwest. And they got multiple, you know, it's a decent sized hub, quite a few flights. And I also think Spirit Airways has a slight hub, you know, like a hub there or an operation base as well. Decent amount of flights around the country. So it's kind of like the low cost carrier airport at this point. And obviously, like, part of you like, well, it kind of sucks if you live, let's say, close to Baltimore, but to get to these other airports, it's not hard. You know, it's just more like a regional drive. You know, let's say you live like 2 hours outside St. Louis or something. Then you're gonna, you know, either pick St. Louis or go to Kansas City. You know, it becomes one of those things. You know, obviously, if you're able to live, let's say, you know, like in this part of Virginia, I mean, you have a goal, and you can go to Reagan, you can go to Dulles. Or if you're willing to save money, and again, you got to do the costs because sometimes there's not much savings. You may save like $20 in airfare, but then you already spent probably like, you know, then is it really worth it? You know, 2 hours of hassle. For me, I would say no, but that's, you know, that's my personal taste. Now, if it's like $100, $150, even after parking and getting to the airport, sure, definitely worth it. Or that said, the public transportation is a little more light. I think there's an Amtrak station that goes to DC from the Baltimore airport, but don't hold me accountable for that. But anyway, that's kind of like a little breakdown of the different airports. So, you know, Southwest is Baltimore, Reagan is American, and United is in Dulles. From international flights, it would be mostly through Dulles, handful of Baltimore, not many, you know, outside of, let's say, Canada, regional, Caribbean stuff. And then, but for like long haul flights, you'll actually be out of Dulles, and Reagan's mostly very domestic. But yeah, so we're actually going over, you know, Fairfax, this is Arlington. It's really grown, you know, it's a lot of, these are actually a lot of offices. I wouldn't even say they're all government offices, just like offices, condos, like it's a massively, you know, they're really trying to diversify just from the government. So, but this is going to be great. So we're going to do a few pauses just to kind of see the Pentagon and stuff. This is perfect, you know, about 1,400 feet, you know, comfortably above. But yeah, around Pentagon, there's all of these like parks and stuff. It's very beautiful, honestly. Like you can, I know Iwo Jima is somewhere over here, and I think this might be Arlington Cemetery. I don't remember. It's been a few years since I've been out there. But yeah, so they did recreate the Pentagon. Did a really good job. I mean, look at, you got the little, you know, little park in the middle. That's, I'm not sure what this new building is. I know it's changed a lot over the years. Obviously, they have massive parking lots and stuff for their workers. You know, and it's still a pretty heavy car commuter city despite the metro. You know, obviously during rush hour and normal times, you know, pre-COVID, you know, it's pretty common. But it's like, you know, off hours and stuff, then you kind of really need to rely on your car. You know, it's a weird city. Like, it has this infrastructure for, like, the transportation, but at the same time, not as, like, friendly, let's say, like New York or Chicago in terms of timing. We're going to take a look here. Obviously, this is the Capitol Mall. You know, Lincoln Memorial. Very well done. Yeah, they did a good job with that. And then well, there's your Washington Monument. We're going to... I don't know, let's, I gotta take a screenshot of that. Get rid of this crap. So the Washington Monument is apparently a generic condo building now in the middle of the mall. You know, probably goes for a lot of money. We'll stay paused here. There's the White House. They did not recreate that at all. It's funny, it's got the shape, but it's completely off. Obviously, I think they might do it. You know, they should do a DC update. There's your Jefferson Memorial. Again, the shape, nothing else. But they've only done a couple buildings. They've only done... Yeah, they've only done a couple buildings here. Kind of a little surprising. Thought it'd be a little more. Fly over the Capitol Mall. Oh, yeah, we can do... This is good. This is the World War II memorial. That's pretty new. Very beautiful. Highly recommend it. I know the Vietnam, again, the Vietnam and Korean memorials are around here as well. I can't remember fully exactly, especially from the satellite imagery. That's just so funny to me. I gotta get rid of that crap and just gotta get one more picture of that. That's just too funny. So, but the coolest thing I love, my favorite thing as a museum nerd, so after this is a Smithsonian complex. I can't remember which is which. I think this is Air and Space and like the National Gallery, but these are all its museums. You've got multiple, culture. It's an African American culture museum. Where it goes over like history of like African Americans in the U.S. And that's also pretty new as well. National Art Gallery, the Air and Space Museum. There's so much. I don't even know all of them top of my head. Now this is hilarious. This is our Capitol right here. It is, I don't know what the hell that is, but that looks really odd. You gotta take another screenshot. That's hilarious. And then over here, I think this, the Supreme Court. Then you got like your Senate congressional offices around here. I can't remember every single building because I know this is like another, I think this is like another Senate office. I don't know what that's supposed to be. But yeah, so they really do need to do a DC update because it needs a lot of work. And then of course you got a lot of other federal offices, FBI and so forth. Again, I'm not really here to stop and try to figure out which one. I did want to see the main landmarks, which has been really hilarious so far. All right. All right. Well, let's start heading north and kind of go over maybe just kind of a little chit chat on our way to Baltimore. Okay, this is the. I think it's still the old stadium, RFK. I can't remember where they put FedEx. They haven't destroyed it. Like I think it just sits there, or maybe the soccer team. No, they had just built a soccer team stadium. I don't know. Yeah, there's the old football stadium. Well, football and baseball. When the Nationals moved, they did play there briefly for a bit because it was a cookie cutter design, so they can move them in and out. But yeah, now we're starting to move out. We're kind of getting now more into like Maryland. You got areas like Bethesda and so forth. So I'm kind of curious, that blue line, is that restricted airspace? So obviously this game does not show restricted airspace because the whole point is to fly wherever you want to and have fun. But it'd be kind of neat to see if someone does a mod like when you get in trouble or something, if you go over like restricted airspace to like an Air Force base and stuff. Just like, or at least like a visual guide. What areas are truly restricted off from commercial, private, airplanes. So, and this is the main. Honestly, this is I-95, I believe. Yeah, but it's the main interstate corridor that goes between DC and Baltimore. And you can just see it just goes on. Like, this is College Park, Maryland area. So, Maryland's not a big state, by the way. Like so, yeah. But, yeah, it's just, a very continuous suburb and community area here. So, honestly, I didn't want to really talk much about... I mean, it's like everyone's been to D.C. I did just want to curious to see what landmarks are in. There's just two. At least that one had blobs of buildings. That made no sense. But I did at least want to talk about the airports, which I did. And it's one of the busiest airport systems in the U.S., obviously. Again, because of D.C., but, I mean, you really got three busy-ish airports. And I say busy-ish, like, from raw traffic numbers, it won't compare to, let's say, like Tokyo Haneda or Narita. Maybe, I think Dulles gets, like, about 30-ish million passengers a year. Actually, what, why not? Let me just take a quick look at my little handy tablet here. Let's see how many people it gets a year. We can start doing a little math here while we fly through parts of Maryland. Oh, but I'll go in Maryland a little bit. Hold on, I just gotta figure this out. Okay. Yeah, so I was in small. They have about 25 million passengers here at Dulles, and let's just do Reagan, just get a sense, because I know Baltimore, it's not big. It's like around 12 to 15, I believe. Oh, but Reagan had 23. So let's say, and for just DC itself, let's say, really like within 20, 15 miles of DC, it is about, around 50-ish million passengers. You add in Baltimore, which I think it's around 12 to 15, but you know what? I have it right here. I'm going to check a little guide here called Wikipedia. Oh, that's 2020. So this year, they're only saying they've had about 6.7 million year to date. But last year, I'm actually way off. They had a lot more. They had about 27 million. So, between the three, it's about 75 to 80 million people a year go to the DC metro area. I'm actually impressed. I thought it'd be a lot lower. Oh, wow, here you go. So, to give you a sense, I mentioned Southwest Airlines. I'm glad they have this. Not every page has this information. Southwest has 60 million passengers there last year. Actually, no, that's April 2019 to March 2020. This is like really up until COVID started, and that was about 65% of 65% share of Baltimore's airport traffic. So, but anyways, we fly through Maryland. I was actually there last year in Baltimore for the Preakness. I may fly over Baltimore. There's not much to see, I think, because I did the map. There was no they had no pinpoints besides the city. And the thing is, like, after seeing DC, it'd be kind of wasteful because, like, there's like a cool like old fort, kind of like right here in this Bay Area that won't show up. I didn't see anything around Annapolis where Navy is, so it's just kind of like, I'm a little surprised. I thought maybe they did a little more out here just because of its importance, especially like the Capitol and the monument. Like, they're all very unique looking from the sky. Like, it's really cool. Like, you fly into DC, especially coming from the west. If you're on the left side of the plane, because you'd be going south into Ronald Reagan, you'll see the whole Capitol Mall, and it's just awesome. It's really cool. So I was hoping to do a little more. I mean, they did the monument they did Lincoln Memorial, and they did the Pentagon. It's cool. Hopefully there'll be an update where they get like the White House and the Capitol, and heck, if they even do the Smithsonian, just have the whole Capitol Mall, that'd be very cool to fly over and just kind of compare and contrast down the road. So. But anyway, last year, I went there for the Preakness. It was my first time actually in the region in a while. Or in a couple years. I was out there in 2013 for July 4th in D.C. Very cool. In the Capitol Mall, they do like a live orchestra concert here on PBS. And then they, when they play like, with the fireworks at the War of 18, or when they had like the War of 1812 overture, and they had cannons shooting off, and you have fireworks shooting off the Potomac, with the Lincoln Memorial. And they watch a monument clear inside. I mean, it's a really cool scene. You don't see that really, It's definitely one of the better July 4th, let's say, celebrations attend to in the U.S. And then I was out there last year for the Preakness, the second leg of the Triple Crown. And, it was in Baltimore. Check out a few things. Like, there's a, I don't want to say, Baltimore Fort, but there's like an old fort that was built around, I think, the War of 1812, and was honestly used throughout the years. It was still like active military, I think, until after World War One. Where it's like used as a training ground and deployment, out of the region. And speaking of that, you see Southwest. He's going a little low, so that means he's trying to fly into Baltimore. So let's get this ATC going. Yep. He seems really low. Like, I'm at 1,600 feet and I feel like I'm kind of low already. But yeah, we're getting really close. So Baltimore Airport's actually very close to downtown. It's only like 10-ish miles. Very reasonable. Wow, that's actually it right there. I didn't expect it to be so close. Yeah, it's a few miles off. Yep, there it is. But yeah, so, in this, the one thing I would recommend, I would go out here, just see what you want to do, but there's so much. I'm going to do a pause here. Just, oh, hold on. Actually, no. Ah, perfect. Oh, thank God. They want me to go on this runway. Not like go all the way around and come from the, just wasting time. I get so annoyed with that sometimes.
Clear to land runway 10, number 2, Beechcraft X-ray Golf Sierra.
Yeah, I got Landis. I need to turn that off, I think. But yeah, so but as I said, there's so much out there. I mean, like the fort I went to, that was a national park. And then you obviously got like the harbor, and they got like a big aquarium in Baltimore, and there's other stuff. You know, a lot of history. Even just in Baltimore alone, you got, you know, I went down to Annapolis, see Navy. You can walk on the campus as a civilian. You know, it's not restricted. They even got like a little, kind of like a ship museum there, where it's got a lot of models and stuff. Very cool. And a little bit of history of Navy Academy as well, and its importance, obviously, you know, throughout U.S. history.
Southwest 1980, turn next taxiway.
500. 500. 500.
So, and then in DC, obviously, everything in DC. But then you have like a lot of stuff, you know, like,
500.
you know, the Battle of Gettysburg, that's only about a couple hour drive just north of DC, roughly. Like, it's, everything is so close. And you can go to even up into, you can go into Virginia. You know, there's a lot of other national parks, you know, from, you know, having Civil War history, partly Revolutionary War. I mean, you can really spend a good few weeks out there just absorbing so much history.
Southwest 1980, exit runway when able. Beechcraft, X-ray Golf Sierra, go around.
I can't.
Going around
Too late.
Beechcraft, X-ray Golf Sierra.
Yeah, we're fine.
Southwest 1980, contact ground on OME 21.9. Southwest 2630, go around.
Oh shit.
Beechcraft, X-ray Golf Sierra, you are not cleared to land.
I rejected those ideas.
Going around Southwest 2630. Southwest 2630, contact Potomac approach on OME 26.825. Beechcraft,
I obviously broke a lot of laws just now.
on OME 21.
That's what I think of Southwest Airlines. How dare you don't let me land?
126.825, Southwest.
How dare you? I don't think the Southwest Library is in my pack, so
121.9 for Southwest.
I would acknowledge the handoff if you shut up for 10 seconds. All right, let's take a look here.
Decimal 9 or Beechcraft, X-ray Golf Sierra.
I'm gonna camp out here. Oh, yeah, this looks nothing like Baltimore Airport.
Southwest 163, 2 exit
One,
runway when
I'm
able.
pretty sure they're not that tall.
Ground Beechcraft Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, request taxi to the gate.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, really? Hold on, let's see this.
Beechcraft Alpha Sierra, X-ray Golf Sierra, taxi to gate 136 via taxiway Lima Charlie Kilo.
Perfect. I'm actually going the right way for once.
Generic 282, hold position, caution, other traffic. Generic 282, continue taxi.
I don't know what generic 282 is. Oh, that is cool. Look at that. They actually do have the Southwest Library. So this is actually pretty accurate. That's what it would look like.
Beechcraft, X-ray
The rest, no. These other airlines.
Ground Southwest 1980.
That's just cool because that really makes it feel like. I want to know there'd be more updates where you can actually like.
Southwest 1980.
I actually want to know if I can actually input that data. Maybe like able to use the libraries and matching up to the tail numbers. But then again, like these, it's showing there's planes here, but there's no tail number, so it probably just like putting planes and thinking it's parked there at the time.
Taxiing to gate 7 fits via taxiway cross runway 22 Delta Kilo Delta Southwest 1980. Roger generic 282.
All right, but yeah, so here you go. This is Baltimore. Just a quick. I mean, you can actually tell it's pretty busy right now with all these flights on Southwest coming in and out. That's. I'm not sure. Okay, that's going to Baltimore. KD. I don't know. That's not Dallas, I think. So this is an arrival. That's a takeoff. But yeah, anyway, so just kind of a little neat there. I hope you enjoyed that. You know, again, just kind of want to. This is a little fun video. Just kind of really going over the airports and just kind of, kind of laugh at the, what was recreative. You know, it seemed like we flew a lot, but it just shows everything's so close out here. I mean, all of this. And you add in, like, you know, some other stuff nearby, you know, like Gettysburg up here. You know, Annapolis is over here. I mean, highly recommend, you know, when things are normal, you know, you're just curious to learn more about history, you know, U.S. history, and or see some cool museums like the Smithsonian and, you know, Air and Space. It is a blast. Like, you'll have a great time. You know, spend a good week out in the region, and you'll learn a lot. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you find it a little informative, and thank you.